Welcome to Cape Town, South Africa. I am standing in one of the most naturally stunning cities in the world. You got the beach here, and then the mountain just completely wrap around the city. When you're stood in many parts of Cape Town, you have 360-degree views of half mountain and half ocean. It's incredible. I can't imagine that there are many cities in the world that are better positioned physically than Cape Town here. So let's get into it. Here we are, walking Lion's Head. Supposedly slightly more difficult than Table Mountain, but the views looked a little bit better. So we're gonna try this one out. If we need more views, we'll walk over to Table Mountain and either climb that, probably not, or take the cable car, which goes to the top of it, which I feel like every single one of my YouTube videos ends up having a cable car in it. What the hell is going on? But
John loves a cable car.
Yeah, apparently.
The hike up Lion's Head takes about an hour and is certainly not for the faint of heart. You're on a really well-worn path for most of the way up, but the slope is pretty dramatic with no protection should you take a tumble. There are also two small sections with chains and ladders to assist that are completely secure, but definitely feel a bit treacherous nonetheless. For me, the view from the top is the best in the entire city, so definitely try to brave it if you can. As you can see, the top of Lion's Head offers views down on Camps Bay and all of the rest of the coastline, as well as a look up at the imposing Table Mountain. There are a few rocks here on the edge that make for an incredible photograph if you can stomach a few seconds out on the ledge.
Made it to the top.
Climbing Lion's Head is truly a must-do, and we had so much fun that we wanted to get to the top of nearby Table Mountain to compare both views. Costing $15 for a round-trip ticket, you're immediately struck by how different the terrain is at the top of Table Mountain from Lion's Head, given it's about 1,500 feet higher in elevation. I think it's worth a trip up here for that contrast alone. Additionally, there's a little restaurant and some shops. Just try not to fall over while taking a video of your wife once you get up there.
What did you just get done saying? Yeah, that's what happens.
All in all, it was a great day scaling mountains in Cape Town on our first day. We kicked off the next day still jet lagged, which allowed us to get an early start and catch our first Cape Town sunrise. After we both got some cat time, we went on a fantastic tour of the Western Cape Peninsula with local knowledge tours, which I'll link to below. Our guide, Andile, showed us a great time and really made this a day to remember. After some quick photos at the colorful beach boxes of St. James's Beach, we had some time to explore Kalk Bay, a neighborhood Forbes called one of the coolest in the world in 2018. Filled with quaint shops stuffed with antiques and various handmade collectibles, it's a relaxed seaside town with a true bohemian feel to it. Aaron and I may have gotten swept up in that feel and sat down to make some art of our own.
All right, outside Soul Design Studio, finished product.
One with your scraped arm.
Yeah, that you probably saw earlier in this video, falling on top of Table Mountain. What's yours? Yours is a little more strategic, but
It's pretty.
well done. Great work.
Great work.
Afterward, we said goodbye to the locals and moved on to our next stop. Boulders Beach's penguins were certainly the highlight of the tour for Aaron, and it may have been the highlight of the tour for me as well. When you arrive at the first parking lot for the beach, you can jump out there and view the penguins from this raised platform along with hundreds of other tourists. Don't do that. Go a bit further down the road and enter the southeastern side of the beach for an up-close and personal experience. This side provides some obstacles, but it also allows you to traipse around the beach and even swim with this rare colony of African penguins, only found along the southern coast of the continent. While the African penguin is on the verge of extinction, this colony has grown from 2 breeding pairs in 1982 to over 3,000 of these tuxedo little guys and girls today. Next up on our tour was the Cape of Good Hope, which is the southwesternmost point of the African continent. The Cape has a long and storied recorded history dating back to notes from Greek navigators 2,000 years ago, through its role as a critical resupply stop for European colonial powers like the Dutch East India Company on their arduous journey around Africa. The Cape recently briefly saw renewed activity as an alternative, albeit much longer, trade route in 2021 when the issue of that little container ship getting stuck in the Suez Canal up in Egypt for 6 days came about. Our Peninsula Tour wrapped up with one of the most stunning drives in the entire world around Champman's Peak. This reminded me a lot of the Great Ocean Road in Australia and may have even been a bit better. I can't say enough thanks to Andile and Local Knowledge Tours for a great day exploring the Western Cape. The next day we opted to stay in the city and lead a little tour of our own. Cape Town does a fantastic job of highlighting its coastline and waterways, and no area more so than the Victoria and Alfred waterfront. This mixed-use area spans 300 acres around Table Bay Harbor and attracts more than 23 million visitors per year. Here you can find over 450 retail outlets, multiple museums, and plenty of talented young street performers. It's also a good spot to kill some time chasing around the wildlife. Make sure to also check out nearby Cape Town City Hall, where Nelson Mandela addressed the nation for the first time as a free man in 1990 and as president in 1994. One of the most unique experiences in Cape Town is the Franschhoek wine tram. It's pretty self-explanatory. It's a tram that transports you to various wineries around Franschhoek. They've really mastered this efficiency thing for wine-thirsty tourists out here in South Africa. I was happy to be exploring yet another world-class wine region with my aficionado wife, and the views in Franschhoek did not disappoint.
We started our day at Haute Cabriere, enjoying what I can only describe as the breakfast of champions, a full wine flight of 3 or 4 tastings. The wine tram operates 10 different lines, visiting 31 regional wineries. We chose the pink line. Depending on the line you choose, the trams pick up passengers every half hour to hour on a hop-on, hop-off, go-at-your-own-pace schedule. This allows for slow-paced sips or swirl and sniff slam tastings, depending on what your schedule allows. Grand Provence Wine Estate was our second stop, where we enjoyed a lovely lunch overlooking the nearby mountains. With his weaker constitution, John opted to skip the tasting and instead went for a spot of tea.
John, are you a fancy boy?
Yeah.
So fancy. Pinky's out when you drink.
What?
Pinky's out when you drink.
Combined with the scenic vista, he was embracing a newfound appreciation of aristocratic affairs. After lunch, we strolled the estate's on-site art gallery, becoming more cultured by the minute. Arriving to the tram less sober than we'd departed, we visited our second-to-last stop, Chamonix Wine Farm. We only had a quick half hour, but still managed to take down an entire flight.
What are you picking up notes of, John?
Dried fruit, like almost like a grape. Yeah, very good though. Great.
Properly rocked, we made it to our finale, or as I like to call it, the Vin Fin. Du Don treated us to a panoramic view of the valley and a chocolate and wine pairing, both of which were absolutely stunning.
Next, it was time for my most anticipated stop of our time in Cape Town, Robben Island. Robben Island is a place I've desperately wanted to visit since reading Nelson Mandela's incredibly inspiring autobiography, Long Walk to Freedom. After being sentenced to life in prison in 1964 for his actions against the apartheid government, Mandela served 18 of his 27 years in jail here on Robben Island, along with many other political prisoners. You must book a tour to visit the island, and thankfully, it is a great one. The tour takes place in two parts, with the first being a guided bus shuttle around the island, which takes you to notable spots and describes more about the history of its inhabitants. The second half of the tour is incredibly moving, as this portion is led on foot by a former prisoner who shares details of what daily life was like imprisoned in South Africa's most notorious jail.
Working 24 hours, carrying firearms.
Our guide Paul walked us through some of the communal living quarters as well as the outdoor work area, including a corner tree under which Mandela began writing and hiding the draft of Long Walk to Freedom. Finally, Paul wrapped up the tour by taking us to Mandela's cell, which has been visited by numerous world leaders, including Barack Obama. Robben Island is such an important stop to better understand the history of apartheid, but also how far this country's come since it fell. The trip out here is made even more poignant as you make your way back into Cape Town and understand how cruel it must have felt spending years on that island, staring at the beauty of Table Mountain and the freedom and promise of this great city just 8 miles away. After a heavy morning, we lightened the mood a bit and stopped by the pastel-colored Bo-Kaap Neighborhood on our way to lunch. Bo-Kaap originally got its color from newly emancipated slaves in the 19th century expressing their newfound freedom on their homes. Not far from Bo-Kaap is the trendy Mojo Market. Mojo Market is filled with the latest African culinary highlights as well as foods from around the rest of the world. You really can't go wrong here.
So I went for this apparently traditional African bowl, essentially, and it's just got a bunch of different meats, and then maize, and then it has like onion and tomato gravy. Sausage, some like gravy on it. Very good. Very hearty meal.
For our last day in Cape Town, we had an 11 p.m. flight, so we decided to board one of those big red hop-on, hop-off city sightseeing buses. These things are ideal for seeing some of the top sights in any big city on a time crunch. After scanning our mobile ticket and plugging in to listen to the guide, we sped off to explore Cape Town one last time. After checking out some of the architecture downtown, which again looks so Australian to me, we found ourselves in the middle of the beautiful Kirstenbosch National Botanical Garden. This garden boasts a wide array of rare plants native to southern Africa and just does an amazing job of holding a mirror up to its own natural beauty, with ponds reflecting the ever-present Table Mountain and this beautiful tree canopy walkway, which provides you a really unique vantage point.
Aaron, how are you enjoying the bus tour?
Very much so.
Good.
very good idea on my part.
Is it your idea or my idea? I kind of forget. You sure? Okay. Shortly after, Aaron and I said our goodbyes to the open top bus and to Cape Town in general as we made our way to the airport. I hope you enjoyed this trip through Cape Town, South Africa. Make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel as we've got a really interesting trip to Namibia coming up next.